You ready to do this, Matt?
Yes, sir. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Matt Shaw. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 146. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on our website, forwardtonerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Matt, I almost felt like I should have done that as William Shatner there for a minute.
I think you should have.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast. Good. A safe place to talk about all things in nerd
all
and
night.
Pop culture. I mean, I don't know. So I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm tired. I'm feeling weird. I got this weird energy in me. I was that close to pulling the William Shatner thing. This is going to be a weird, wild episode. I have a feeling.
I look forward to what the weirdness pulls out of you.
It could go one of two ways. One, it could just be like ridiculous silliness, or two, it could go to like a dark place. And I try not to do that, but like you and I were talking before, and I'm not going to get into it because but just there were some things that happened over the weekend, some conversations that took place, and things just make me shake my head sometimes with people and society, and I just can't sometimes. I just can't. It's like, people, Come on now. Just put a little thought into what you say before you say it, and also make sure you have some facts to back you up. That's all I'm going to say. It's a little teaser, it's a little hint, but if I go into it, I'm just going to I'm going to come unglued.
All right, well, let's not go into that. Everything's great. It's a beautiful, beautiful evening. And how was your week outside of the minor inconvenience and frustrations that you experienced?
Yes. So, weirdly enough, the temperature dropped over the weekend. So yesterday, we finally got a bunch of rain in, and it dropped us from like near 100 degrees still down into like the low 80s, high 70s. And so today felt like just wonderful. Like, nice. I went out for a little bit of a walk when I was kind of working and doing some stuff during the day. And I was like, oh man, I'm not sweating my nays off in the middle of the day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, it still felt like, 80, 81 degrees.
Wow.
Which still is warm. Don't get me wrong. But when you've been like near 100 for like a month, 2 months straight, like a 20 degree drop feels nice.
Yep.
So that was yesterday and today. This weekend was big. Brita and I went to FanX, which used to be called Salt Lake City Comic-Con. Now it's called FanX. And it was a really good con this year that we went to, but it was a bit different for Brita and I than in previous years. So in previous years, we've paid for photo ops with certain celebrities like Stan Lee and, Tom Welling used to play Superman, and John Barrowman and David Tennant. So we've done like paid photo ops before. We've done autographs before. This year, I didn't really want to spend any money on that. Mm-hmm. The only person I would have liked to have gotten a photo op with was Tom Holland, a.k.a. Spider-Man. Cool. However, he was commanding an incredible $225 for a photo op, which is like the highest it's ever been for anyone. And I kind of went, that's really high. Admittedly, though, he's probably one of the biggest stars on the planet right now. He was just in a movie that was like $1 billion movie. Yeah. So there's that. But I didn't. So we went to some panels, and some of the panels were excellent. A couple were just kind of okay. We did some panels. We walked around. We looked at the vendor floor. I picked up a little bit of artwork. We tend to always find one or two artists that we enjoy, either local people or people are doing some different things. And I think I'll talk about that a little next week because I want to get some of the art together and
cool
and to talk about it. And I don't have it here right in front of me. But that was fun. But what made it different was that, like, Brita and I just didn't have as big of an agenda. There wasn't we weren't trying to rush to do photo ops or autographs, and we weren't trying to get to this and that. So it was just kind of laid back. And so we were able to just kind of take our time and walk around and see things and interact, which was nice. It was probably the most relaxing time we've had at one of these conventions. So really cool. But I did get to meet a few people. I met Charles Martinet, who is the voice of Mario. I went up and I talked to him for a minute or so, said hello. He was doing autographs, and I wasn't going to pay an autograph. I did consider almost doing he would do a voice recording. Oh, and I thought about doing a voice recording for the Fortress of Nerditude with Charles Martinet as Mario. I went, ooh, that would be awesome. We could play that.
Yeah.
But it was $50, and it was really, really loud in the convention center when we were over in his area. And I was like, it may not sound very good. I don't have any real audio equipment, so it would be on my cell phone. I was just like, yeah, I don't want to risk that.
Right.
But we saw him. I did run into the author Timothy Zahn that I've talked about before. He wrote 3 of my all-time favorite Star Wars books, which is Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command. These were the 3 books that came out in the mid-90s that at the time, good old George Lucas said that, if there were to be 3 other movies after Return of the Jedi, these would be the 3 stories that would be the movie. He kind of, he was kind of like the only authorized author at the time to write something in the Star Wars universe. And of course, he wrote these great stories, and then eventually Disney bought it and it wasn't canon anymore.
Yeah.
And he's written some other books though that are considered canon, and he's found a way to bring back in some of those characters from those books, like Grand Admiral Thrawn. So anyway, I got a chance to meet him, and I got a chance to talk to him for about 5 minutes and tell him, that I really appreciated his work and, his stories, really meant a lot to have something of that quality back then when there wasn't anything else and it didn't look like anything was going to be on the horizon ever. Yeah. So that was kind of cool. Just a few other people. We went to the panel for John Rhys Davies, who plays Gimli in Lord of the Rings and also Sala in the Indiana Jones movies. And he was a lot of fun to listen to. But I got to say, my favorite thing to do is there's a voice actor. His name is Jess Harnell. And he comes and he works with this guy named Jeff. And they do this thing called Twisted Tunes, where they get Jess Harnell, who's a voice actor, and then some other voice actors and people that do voices. So like Susan Egan, who is the voice of Megara in Hercules, was there. Jason Isaacs, who was Lucius Malfoy, in the Harry Potter movies, he dropped in. Of course, John Rhys Davies dropped in and did some Gimli. But what they do is they do all these voices, but they do it to a popular movie. So they reenacted big scenes from The Wizard of Oz, but playing like different characters. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger was like Glinda in one of the scenes. And, they had Megara be Dorothy, and, she sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but as Meg, doing like, kind of Hercules kind of stuff. And so it's just like these kind of like, it's a real twist on like classic movie scenes portrayed by, like Roger Rabbit and Kermit the Frog and, this, that, and the other. And so it's really, really, really funny. And so we got to see that again. And that was a lot of fun. So it can definitely be more on the PG-13 side. It's not like a G or a PG rated. It can get a little wacky, but Twisted Tunes, I think they're on YouTube. You can look them up. But that was a lot of fun. Like that's always kind of the highlight, just because you just laugh yourself silly.
Very cool.
So yeah, so did that with Brita. Just work is work. Work is busy. Spent some time on Sunday just with the boys, just kind of hanging out of the house. Yeah, that's. And we started Designated Survivor,
Okay.
the Kiefer Sutherland show, where he's like, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development that gets left behind during the State of the Union.
Yep.
And then the whole Capitol blows up, the president, vice president, all of Congress, the Supreme Court, everyone's dead, and now he's the president. And so we started that yesterday, and we watched like 5 episodes. So we're enjoying that a bit.
All right, good. I won't. I have seen Designated Survivor. I will not muddy your mind with my thoughts on that series.
Gotcha.
I will just let that unfold before you.
Yep. So that was my kind of week. How was your week?
It was pretty standard. No Backstreet Boys concert. Disappointing. Nothing that exciting.
No hamburger challenges.
No hamburger challenges. Yeah, I'm looking back on it thinking I really failed this week. We didn't do anything super fun. Let's see. Highlight of the week, though. BYU beat Tennessee in double overtime. So for me, that's a highlight. Anytime BYU can win a football game, it's a miracle.
Oh, football. I thought maybe we were talking like badminton or something.
Yeah. Big into that. So hallelujah. Double overtime. It's fun in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's a big opponent. So that was pretty fun. Even though Tennessee's having a real down year. It's rough out there. They lost to Georgia State. Who just started a program in like 2010 at home in week 1. So they're 0-2 for the first time in like 35 years. Anyway, that was great. We went on Saturday morning. We took Emmy to Aquatica, which is, so we have a season pass to SeaWorld San Antonio.
Right.
And in San Antonio's SeaWorld, there's also a water park. And so Aquatica is the SeaWorld water park. So we took her over to Aquatica, and she hadn't been this year yet because we're lazy and Jessie's super pregnant. So we had not dragged ourselves there until Saturday when her cousins wanted to go. So we went there, and Emmy had a great time with most of it. A little bit afraid of the wave pools and things, but it was a good time. And other than that, it was kind of hangout situation. Our local spirits store, which is the Halloween store, I'm sure they're all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
So that opened up, and we love going there. We celebrate Halloween as long as we possibly can, one of our favorite holidays. And Emmy's always been a fan of the spirits store. She's only 2.5, but every year she's gone. She's loved it the last 2 years. So now this year we're like, maybe fear has finally started to set in. Because she's just not really afraid of anything. At Disneyland, she went on every ride and loved it. She talks about the Pirates of the Caribbean and the drop at Disneyland and down, 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 Dad. I was like, yeah, down, down, down.
Which is funny because like Jackson is the opposite. He doesn't want to go on Pirates of the Caribbean because it goes down. And I was like, it barely goes down. And he says no. Because like at the beginning when you're going in and the big voice says, dead men tell no tales. I said, Jackson, what did it say? And he says, people, you go down. That's what he thinks it says. Oh it is so funny. It's like, but he doesn't go, like, he will cry. He will cry until I drag him in there, get him on the dang boat, and it does that first little drop, and then he's fine the rest of the time.
Right.
But then I'll say, do you want to go again? It was a lot of fun, all this stuff. He's like, no, Daddy, because we have to go down.
Yeah.
It's the dropping down in the dark thing. It's like, oh, my goodness.
Man.
Like, it's not even a 45-degree angle. It's like so like nothing.
Right.
Anyway.
So, anyway, she's story about that right quick. I was 4 years old. My grandma, rest her soul, she forced me on that ride at 4 years old. She's a psychologist, and she's always like a tough love grandma. Like, this is the way it is, and this is how it's going to go, and we're going to do this. So at 4 years old, similar to what you do with Jackson, I'm crying. I remember this. I'm freaking out. My parents looking at it, tried to like, we're not going to make him go on this. It's not worth it. But it was a big family trip. She dragged me on it. And I haven't looked back at any ride since. So there are some advantages to forcing your kids onto scary rides.
People, you go down.
Oh my gosh, that was great. Anyway, so she loves scary stuff. We went to the spirit store and she just picked up right where she left off in years previous. She runs to all the displays with the scary stuff and she stomps on the ground and watches them do whatever their thing is. And she gets a little bit like uncomfortable, but she kind of has a love-hate. I think with like a lot of us, we kind of have a love-hate with some things scary. We're like, it's kind of fun, but I'm freaked out. So she's been there and she loves it, looking at all the costumes, and she knows exactly what she wants to be and blah, 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 blah. So
what does she want to be this year?
She wants to be Jessie from Toy Story. That is
okay.
The only thing she wants to be.
Okay.
Which I'm fine with. Costume's like $21, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll pay that.
Cha-ching, done.
Thank you.
Our boys, like, it's weird. They want to be Wreck-It Ralph, so Charlie wants to be Fix-It Felix, and Jackson wants to be Ralph. Except we went through Costco like 2 weeks ago, and then Jackson decided he wanted to be like Luke Skywalker in his Rebel pilot outfit.
Okay.
And now I don't know what we're doing. Like, I just don't know what he's gonna do. But they want all the family to dress up together. So this is Jackson's idea. Jackson will be Wreck-It Ralph, which I think it would be easier if I was Ralph, but whatever.
Makes more
thematically,
sense.
Size. He wants to be Ralph. He wants Charlie to be Fix-It Felix Jr. He wants Mommy to be Vanellope Von Schweet. And he wants Daddy to be King Candy.
Oh, wow.
I was like, King Candy! It's salmon! So, like, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cute. They'll change their mind again.
I know. It's like, can we change your mind to something a little easier? Like, I don't know that I'm going to be able to find a good King Candy costume.
I doubt it.
Yeah. I was like, I could go with Sour Bill.
There you go.
That'd be really easy. Just get like, a big circle of green felt and slap it on the front of me.
And your good is done. Anyway, so other than that, I mean, really, that was kind of the end all. That was it. Nothing else going on.
Well, okay then. Did you play any more Red Dead Redemption 2?
Oh, I did. I played a lot, actually.
Oh, really?
I want to beat it so bad. Here's the thing with Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
There's no spoilers in what I'm going to say. There's my opinion on just the game in general. Fantastic for 20 hours. And then it's kind of like, okay. And every mission you're like, okay. Again.
It's just feeling like repetitive.
Again. And so it's never, for me, it's never good in a game when I'm like, I just want to beat it now.
Yeah.
And that's what it was this week. It was, oh my gosh, I just want to beat this game.
Like, you just kind of feel like the storyline's not progressing at this point for you?
No, and it's way too long, in my opinion. It's just too long of a story. I mean, there's some stories, there's part of the main missions that, I mean, I'm only doing the main missions. No side missions at all. Only what's going to get me through the game. And it's taken a long time, which is great for some games, but for this one, woo-wee, it's starting to take its toll where I'm getting a little bit frustrated with every new mission that comes up. I'm like, holy crap, how much longer can this go? So anyway, take it or leave it. Just one man, a simpleton. I'll call myself a gaming simpleton. But that's just my quick hit on the game. It's the most beautiful game I've ever played, though. Absolutely beautiful. The voice acting is the best I've experienced. The characters are rich. They're awesome. It's just the gameplay and the story it drags towards the end here. It's really dragging.
I gotcha. I did pick up Final Fantasy VIII Remastered. Did I tell you about that?
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Okay, then. Well, I picked it up and I haven't done anything with it.
But I just know that you were going to.
Yeah. No, I picked it up. Haven't done anything with it yet. I'm looking to get back onto the streaming so I can do more of the Spider-Man. And I think maybe after Spider-Man, I'll do Final Fantasy VIII.
There you go.
So
cool.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you say? Should we move on? Should we kill some Bothans?
Let's kill some Bothans.
I feel like we should murder some.
You're getting
Bothans.
A little murdery. All right.
Little murdery. I got the murdery eyes for them Bothans.
Wonderful.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Matt, we have murdered Bothans with our eyes. What do you have for me this week?
All right, so first thing I've got, let's talk about the ongoing saga of Marvel and Sony and this, not feud, but this ongoing saga of Spider-Man.
Ooh, I have something I can tell you right off the bat,
Please.
and then you can tell me whatever.
Yeah.
So Tom Holland, right? I told you he came to FanX.
Yes.
And he had a big panel, and they said they're not going to take any questions, which usually they take questions because Tom Holland has a habit of answering questions or leaking scripts or, that sort of thing. But it's kind of like they knew. I think they just knew that people are going to ask him about the Sony Marvel thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't want to put him in a position where he was going to have to answer that all too often, I believe. So there was no questions, which makes total sense because
totally
he still is going to be playing Spider-Man for Sony.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be really awkward, and it would be anyway. So no questions about that over the weekend, although everyone was thinking about it.
Absolutely. It's all
so what's new in this developing drama?
Every day there's newness. So this is what the CEO of Sony Pictures said. Tony Vinciquerra. Let's just call him that.
Vinciquerra or something.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He said, quote, Spider-Man was fine before the event movies, did better with the event movies, and now that we have our own universe, he will play off the other characters as well. I think we are pretty capable of doing what we have to do here.
Can I respond to that?
I'll allow it.
False. No, you're not. And let me put it to you simply. You have a big problem over there at Sony, in my opinion, that Into the Spider-Verse was excellent. But that was an animated feature, and it's a little easier to have an animated feature because not as many people are going to get involved. They're going to say, "Oh, it doesn't cost as much money because you just have some voiceover work. It's not big actors, and this, that, and the other." People are going to say that, and people in the studio systems are going to say that, right?
Yep.
But then you did Venom. Venom, I know, made money, but I don't know that it was the smashing success that maybe they were expecting it to be. I mean, I know it did really well, but I just don't feel like it did crazy numbers well, I guess.
Did you see it?
I did not.
I did not either, so maybe that's a testament to how well it did.
The previews to me made it look pretty rough.
It wasn't a priority.
Yeah, exactly right. It wasn't a priority. Will I see it? Probably eventually, but it's not on my to-do list right now as far as high priorities.
Yep.
So those ones, yeah. But when was the last time Sony Pictures did a Spider-Man movie that was not with the MCU? The last time was The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was a critical and box office flop. It did not live up to expectations. It basically killed what could be Spider-Man for Sony Pictures. Hence why when Sony started going through all those troubles, they ended up reaching out to Disney, to Marvel, the MCU, and Kevin Feige and all that, and they came to a deal with it. And Marvel has breathed new life into Spider-Man in film. So I get that this guy's the head of the studio now, and he's only been in there for maybe 2 years tops. And he's wanting to, make some statements and put his spin on it. But saying we were fine before the event movies, which means he's really saying we were fine before the MCU and we'll be fine after. Come on. You were okay, but you're better than fine with the MCU. You're making big money and you're having excellent movies. Once you lose that MCU touch and that MCU magic and there's no more crossed over and shared world and now you're back to being in New York, but there's no Tony Stark, which obviously was a huge impact on Peter Parker's. Like, how do you write that in a way? How do you pick up from Far From Home and continue on with Tom Holland as Spider-Man and ignore all the things that have happened in the past? Because you won't be able to reference it. You won't be able to talk about it because those characters and those character name rights all belong to another company and you won't be able to use those anymore. I just have a hard time thinking that this is going to stay the way it is.
Yep. Yes to everything. I agree. Sony will screw it up. I'm confident in that. I hope they don't.
I don't even think screw it up though. Like, I just think that they're going to come out with a middling, okay movie. But I think following up on after Far From Home and Homecoming and, the Infinity War, Endgame and Civil War, following up after those 5 films, going solely over to Sony, if they come in with just a middling, just kind of an okay movie, it's going to kill the hype and the buzz behind Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think they put too much pressure on themselves now by taking it in-house. If it's not excellent, even if it's a pretty great movie, it's not excellent, it's going to fall below expectations and people are going to talk crap on it.
Yep.
They've put themselves in a bad spot, unfortunately. And they're talking about this world they're building, this Spider-Man universe, and I'm thinking, well, I'm yet to see something exciting from this, so...
Right. Yeah, because you're not going to be able to tie in the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse into that. So really all you have is the Venom film?
We'll see about that. I love Into the Spider-Verse. I'm super stoked that they're making a sequel to that. I was hoping it would be part of their TV stuff they were toying around with, Spider-Man and TV. I was like, give me a TV show of Into the Spider-Verse. One of my favorite Spider-Man iterations.
Yep.
So good.
I just honestly think that Disney and Sony are going to come to a deal.
I hope so.
I really do. It's all a numbers game. I think all this is just posturing because it's a numbers game. Disney wanted more of the box office. Sony doesn't want to give it up.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. All right, onward and upward, brother. What do you got for us?
Okay, so I'm going to jump over. This is kind of in the MCU world, but now kind of not. So we know that there's going to be a new Mission Impossible film, Mission Impossible 7 and 8. They're both being filmed at the same time. Ooh. Well, Hayley Atwell, the actress best known for playing Peggy Carter, has now been cast and signed on to be in the next Mission Impossible movie. And so there was kind of this back and forth on Instagram with the director, Christopher McQuarrie, saying blah, 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 picture with her saying should you choose to accept? And she responded back and something like, she said something like, mission accepted or something like that.
Yeah.
This is all kind of tongue in cheek. And so obviously, Hollywood Reporter is, announcing it. And so it seems like this is kind of the next big thing she's doing. My question is, I think Hayley Atwell's a wonderful actress. I just wonder if everyone loves her so much because of the way Peggy Carter was written and the interplay between her and Chris Evans, Captain Steve Rogers.
Yeah, there's some possible, I don't know, not brand confusion, but I don't know. We'll see how this. We don't know anything about her character, what she's going to be doing in Mission Impossible.
Nope. We don't know if she's going to be a love interest,
right,
or if she's going to be a team member or
right,
the adversary.
Exactly. So I'll withhold judgment until I find out what she's going to do and who she's going to be. And also, I know people loved her as Peggy Carter, but she was not a massive part, I feel like, of the MCU for me as just kind of a fan.
She was a massive part of Steve Rogers' character development.
Yes.
But not
she wasn't of 30 minutes through all 20 MCU movies or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
And I do think she's certainly famous from that. My wife would only know her from the Christopher Robin movie, but we won't go there. I don't know. We'll see. I'm fine with it. I mean, good for her. I'm sure it'll all turn out great. I love that what they've done with Mission Impossible, especially the last 3 of them or so.
Yeah,
They got a little bit kind of weird in like 2 especially, and 3 were not great. And then after that, it's been awesome. And this last one was like amazing.
One was good, but it's kind of an older film, and it feels that way.
Yep.
2 got weird. 3 felt better, but from like 4, 5, 6, those 3, they've just been
so good,
spot on.
Loved them, love them. And I don't always like action. I'm not always an action movie fan. The Bourne movies, I'm a simpleton. They're too confusing for me. I don't know what the heck is happening. I'm like, all right, this is just confusing. It's shaky camera work, and I have no idea what's happening. I follow Mission Impossible.
I love the Bourne movies as far as like the stories they tell.
Yeah.
But I agree, the shaky cam,
Please stop.
Yeah, I always just kind of like, man, I wish someone would redo these movies with Matt Damon and just get rid of all the shaky cam stuff.
Yep.
I know it's supposed to bring realism. Super Friends, don't harass me, but I'm just saying, I know it's supposed to be realism, but it's like, yeah, okay. But I'm realistically sitting in the movie theater trying not to get sick.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
All right, what else you got?
So next on my list, today, the day that we're recording this is September 9th.
Yep.
And today is the 20th anniversary / birthday of one of my favorite consoles of all time, the Sega Dreamcast.
Happy birthday, Mr. Dreamcast.
Ooh, so sexy. Yes. Speaking of sexy, that system, beautiful. So many innovations with the Dreamcast. I just wanted to put it in Rebel Intelligence as something fun to think about, to maybe put some memories, wash some memories over you if you had one. We got one when I was, I don't know how old, however old I was in 1999, 11 or 12. And it was a blast. The little VMU, how innovative and cool was the little memory card that was actually like a little gaming thing on its own, had little mini games in it. The controller was so weird but felt so nice. The incredible games, Sonic Adventure and Crazy Taxi, Shenmue, just some all-time classic games.
And I've never played anything on the Dreamcast.
Oh my gosh, no!
Never played it, never owned it, nothing.
Man, some real classic games on there. Real good stuff.
So when it came out, I was serving a mission for my church. I was 20 years old. And by the time I got back and I kind of went to college, that was right when the old Xbox came out.
Yeah.
And I picked up an Xbox because I wanted Halo.
That makes perfect sense. I don't fault people for sleeping on the Dreamcast because it felt awkwardly between console generations. Their timing was really poor. But if you were lucky enough, or I'll say this, if you were cool enough to be one of those people who picked up a Dreamcast, you were treated to some really great games. I mean, Soul Calibur was a Dreamcast game, and Virtua Tennis, and the 2K games were, that was all Sega at the time. And they had some really, really, really fun games. And I think back on it, and I wish I would have kept it. I wish I could, I don't know, play those games again, but not just play them on some, current gen console, but on the Dreamcast with those controllers and the VMU and all that. But anyway, happy birthday to the Sega Dreamcast. If you so choose, Super Friends, share with me your favorite memories from the Sega Dreamcast, just to bring joy to my soul as you answer this week's question when it is revealed later in the podcast.
Sega.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah, that was from the Genesis era, though. That's how I know that.
No, that's the Sonic.
So I'm going to jump from Sega over to the big N. That is, of course, Nintendo. And so here's the deal. If you have Amazon Prime, you can sign up for something called Twitch Prime. Twitch obviously is owned by Amazon. It's where gamers like myself will go and stream video games, and you can watch that. So with your Amazon Prime, you can sign up for Twitch Prime. And right now, for like another week or two, Twitch Prime members can sign up for 12 months of the Nintendo Switch Online program, which I think is only like $20 a year anyway.
It's super cheap.
Super, super cheap. But if you sign up for it, it's kind of a dual step thing. So you sign up and you get 3 months free. And then after 90 days, you got to come back and you've got to re-verify you're still a Twitch Prime member. And then it'll give you the last 9 months. It's some sort of thing to make sure people aren't just going to sign up and then cancel immediately and they've got a free year. But basically what that gives you is it gives you the free, 12 months of the Nintendo Switch Online. But right now, like I said, up till September 24th, so you got like another 2.5-ish weeks. You can sign up for the Switch Online program, and you're going to get basically the Super Nintendo Switch Online kind of library of games, which has got a bunch of games. Brawl Brothers, Demon's Crest, Joe and Mac 2, Lost in the Tropics, Kirby's Dream Land 3, Star Fox, Super EDF Earth Defense Force, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island, Super Puyo Puyo 2, Super Tennis, Breath of Fire, F-Zero, Kirby's Dream Course, Pilot Wings, Stunt Race FX, Super Ghoul and Ghost, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Super Soccer, and The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. You get all those for free.
Yeah.
They're part of the program, plus you also get an opportunity to spend $30 of your money on a retro SNES controller that you can use with your Switch. You can't get it anywhere else. So if you have a Switch, if you're into Nintendo, and you are an Amazon Prime member already, go sign up for Twitch Prime. It's free if you're an Amazon Prime member. And then you can get the Nintendo Switch Online free for a year. And you can get access to all these games. I know it's $20 and you could get it for $20, but if you're already on Prime, man, you get it for free. That's a heck of a good deal. Matt, are you going to take advantage of that?
I already used it last year, so they don't let me do it. I've subscribed since the beginning, so they don't let me do it. It's too bad.
I gotcha.
But
I actually haven't signed up for it yet, just because I haven't.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna take advantage of this though.
Yep.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, and you get access to like 25 or 30, maybe more NES games as well. So
Right.
the super classics.
Yep.
But I was like excited because they had the Nintendo Direct. That's something else I did this week was I watched the 40-minute Nintendo Direct, which had a whole bunch of really cool games kind of previewed that I'm excited for. But I was a little bit like, oh man, because maybe a year ago, I don't know how long ago it was, a year and a half ago, they came out with the Super Nintendo Classic, right?
Yep.
Where it's like that mini version. And I have
I've
that.
got it. Yep.
And I was like, oh, these games, I already have these games. I already beat Super Mario World like 3 times since I got it because that's the greatest Mario game ever. And now I already beat it. I was like, it's exciting, but I already have these games.
Right.
Oh, well. You win some, you lose some.
It's free. I mean, if you're getting it for free, it's not that bad of a deal. Still, even $20, it's not that bad of a deal.
No, and you get to play everything online. Right now, if you don't have it, you can't, but get it online.
Yeah, it's a good deal. I may get it so I have some more stuff the boys can play on the Switch.
Yep.
So.
Show them some
Anyway.
old school gaming.
Yeah.
All right. So my final part of Rebel Intelligence is about Death Stranding. The game we've been hearing about forever.
Right.
With all these dramatic cinematic trailers. Finally got some gameplay recently. And Kojima, who is the director and such of this game, said there will be a, quote, very easy mode that is geared toward movie fans due to the celebrity cast. He goes on and explains this further. He says, don't get me wrong, basically. There are lots of games that have an easy mode, but this is a very easy mode where it will almost be cinematic as compared to normal and hard mode, which I said is more for an action game fan. So he's really leaning into the fact that people want to play this game because he's created this beautiful masterpiece of a cinematic experience.
So this is basically going to be like you walk a little bit, then you hit another cutscene, and you
Yes.
just watch cutscene after cutscene after cutscene.
That's what it sounds like. I don't think there's very much, if any, involvement from like a stealth. I mean, we still don't completely know what this game is. We know there is stealth involved. I mean, this just 0% interest.
Okay, so let me ask you that then. Like on something like this, where it's a famed director and this is big project and it's all kind of hush hush and we don't know much about it. Like, are you willing to purchase a game and pre-order a game like based on the strength of like the development house or the director ahead of time, or do you need to at least see something of the game footage and know, like, have some sort of general concept of like what kind of game it is?
The only publisher I would ever do that for is Nintendo. They're the only one that I actually would trust, that I would pre-order a game that I don't know anything about. There is no other publisher on the planet that I would just buy a game from.
I would do it for Naughty Dog.
You would?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
If they said Naughty Dog was doing this, I'd be like, nope, here's money. I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, all 4 of the Uncharted games, The Last of Us, like those 5 games, like all the things they've done in the last decade or more technically, are so good and so quality that like inherently they come out and they say, you know, I know The Last of Us 2 is coming out and I'm going to be getting that, but if they come out and they say, we've got a new game and it's called chess or checkers, and it's like, you mean like the game you play? And they're like, yes, but it's different. I'm like, okay, here's my money. Take it.
Okay.
Because I just know that inherently it's going to be tight controls, great gameplay, great story. So,
okay,
yeah.
That's fair. Being new to this console generation, let's get real, I only stick with Nintendo. Don't know much about Naughty Dog, but I heard Watch Dogs and Watch Dogs 2 had their fair share of issues. Isn't that Naughty Dog, or am I wrong?
No, that's not Naughty Dog.
Who is that?
That's Bethesda. No, it's not Bethesda.
That doesn't matter.
No, it's
I think I always thought it was Naughty
Ubisoft?
Dog because it's called Watch Dogs.
I think
But-
Watch Dogs is Ubisoft.
It is. It was at the Ubisoft concert.
Yeah, it's Ubisoft. Yeah,
whatever.
I like
Conference. Gosh.
E3.
Anyway, yeah. Yep. So there are a few, but this to me, it's a little bit weird. But that's just me. This rollout of this game has kind of turned me off to it. To be honest, I'm not super interested or excited. I don't know. Seems to think he's hot stuff and that everybody wants his stuff, and I don't really want his stuff.
He's kind of a big name in the industry.
Yes,
I mean
I respect that.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit, I don't know, puff in the chest for me.
And that's fair. Like you said, you haven't played a Naughty Dog game, so I say Naughty Dog is like, you know, the end all be all, until you're kind of like, well, okay. Like you just have to take someone else's word for it, right?
Yep.
If you'd played a bunch of like the Metal Gear Solid games and you were in love with Kojima's style, you know, then that might be different.
Yeah.
But to you, he's just a well-known name right now.
Right.
So I get that. I totally get that. Speaking of weird and interesting, the Joker movie, this is the Todd Phillips Joker movie, the one with Joaquin Phoenix. It's being shown around at some of the film festivals, and it was just at the Venice Film Festival, and it won the top prize, which is called the Golden Lion. And it won the top prize of the film festival. It's the first time in 76 years that the film festival's been around that the highest movie was given to some sort of like superhero-esque movie. I mean, previous things have been like Roma and Brokeback Mountain and Rashomon. Like, you know, definitely like heavier, like Oscar-type worthy films.
Right.
And this Joker film just won it. So it's interesting. It's unique. It's building some buzz in a different way for this film. I still don't know like how I feel about this film kind of coming out from what I've seen, but I just know that that the acting of Joaquin Phoenix is going to blow me away.
Yeah.
Because he's just a very powerful actor. So like I want to see this, but it's interesting though because it won this award. It doesn't hit the theaters here till October 4th, so we're just a little under a month away. But I mean, building buzz in the you know the film circuit for film festivals typically isn't a direction that superhero films go.
Right.
You know, they're big blockbuster summer popcorn type of movies.
Yep.
So I don't know. Does this make you more or less excited for this film?
Same amount of excited, because I was excited. I think it looks freaking cool. I love
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix. Everything he's been in that I've seen, I've really enjoyed, particularly just him. I just think he's cool. I wish he would do more, but he's not like The Rock. He can't be in everything, I guess.
No, he can't.
I really like Joaquin Phoenix. So, yeah, I'm excited for it. And the reviews that I have seen, because there are reviews out there because it's been seen, very positive. So it seems like it's going to be pretty cool. And I think people will go see this movie.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's going to be cool.
That is the last thing that I had.
Right on. Same here.
All right, so last week, Super Friends, we had a conversation. We talked about Stu and Katina getting married. Once again, congratulations. And then we talked about some of our favorite romances from TV, film, books, comics, whatever. And we asked you, the Super Friends, what's your favorite? I know we don't always get all lovey-dovey and whatnot, but we took a moment to recognize that is an element that we see a lot in nerd and pop culture. And so we wanted to talk about it. And we got a few answers, so we're going to read those.
Great.
We're going to start over on email like we always do with Peter Christensen, and you can get to us at fortofnerd@gmail.com. Peter says, Dear nerds, Fortress of Frivolity and Silliness has a nice ring to it. The drive... I can't talk tonight, sorry. That drive you described is beautiful, but incredibly long. I took my kids up the Crystal Mountain gondola up to the 7,000-foot top of the best view of Mount Rainier. The park area around it is undeveloped as far as the eye can see. I've been on top of mountains, but always near cities. This was a strange, otherworldly feeling of being on top of the world, even as a mountain twice as tall was one valley over. Big congrats to Stu. Apparently some things are even more important than podcast hosting. I agree. Congrats again, Stu. He says, my White Whale Impossible video game was the original Castlevania, Ghosts and Goblins, and Battletoads. Andrew Mason, founder of Groupon, even mentioned it when he was fired from the company. If Groupon was Battletoads, it would be like I made it all the way to the Terratubes without dying on my first ever playthrough. He says, my family's so into Amazon Prime Video that we hardly ever open Netflix or our DVR. It's probably my most surprising tech story of 2019.
Wow.
I rewatched Man of Steel, the movie everyone loves to hate. It's a good movie as long as you have no attachment to earlier happy and hopeful Superman movies. I forgot how intensely brutally violent it was when Superman battles Zod and company and just tears unopposed through the cities, buildings, trains, and military. My favorite superhero fights are X-Men Days of Future Past versus the Sentinels and Infinity War / Endgame versus Thanos, but Man of Steel shows just how destructive super fights would be to our cities and infrastructure. Also, Martha! Which, just a moment here, we'll go into the rest of this. I liked Man of Steel. I really did. I liked Man of Steel. I knew that it was obviously going to have a darker tone to it. They were trying to do kind of like what they'd done with the Christopher Nolan Batman movies and make it kind of darker and moodier and edgier. I still did like it though, and I did agree that the way they destroyed kind of everything in that fight was kind of crazy and nuts. So, but the Martha reference though, come on, that's Batman v Superman. That's just hot garbage.
Yes to what you said on the second one. No to Man of Steel. Hard pass for me.
You didn't like it, huh?
I hated it.
Really?
Ugh. Couldn't stand it. I was so disappointed. I went and saw it like opening night at midnight and I watched it and I was like, for me, ugh.
Yeah, I liked it, but I liked it for what it was. I went in knowing I did not want to compare it to Christopher Reeve, 1978 Superman or Superman 2, because nothing, in my opinion, is going to beat those. I mean, you would have to go to a different way of telling the Superman story again and go back to a more hopeful, more idealistic version. And in today's movie culture, with where the DC universe is, I don't see them going that direction.
Right.
So, he says, here's some rapid fire thoughts on nerd love. My version of Han and Leia is Mad Mardigan and Sorsha from Willow, the dysfunctional loner and the princess, which I know Peter's love of Willow. And
underrated. So
I love Willow
underrated.
as well.
Gosh, I need anyway, there was
So
talks about
good.
a Willow show. I don't know if any of y'all heard that rumor. Talks about a Willow show.
Really?
I would be anyway. Neither here nor there. Willow underrated.
Again.
Jesse's never seen it. Drive me crazy. Anyway, go ahead.
What?
Sorry, I could talk about Willow. We need next podcast. It's Willow time.
We should find a time and do a movie
club, man.
A movie club for Willow. That would be awesome.
Oh, and I'd make Jesse watch it.
I guarantee though, if we do a Willow movie club, Peter's gonna call me up personally and be like, "Can I please come back on the podcast and can I be on that one?" Because I know how much he loves Willow.
Wow.
Yeah, we've actually talked about it on this podcast a number of times. He says the unfolding love triangle of Harry Potter, Ron, and Hermione, which ends happily with Harry marrying Ginny Weasley, which was always the right choice.
Okay.
Did you ever feel like there really was like a love triangle there?
I wanted there to be. I wanted Hermione and Harry to end up together. Because, look, Ron to me is a piece of work. And I don't get it. I don't get it. Especially when the movies came out and I was single and ready to mingle and Emma Watson was getting older and I was like, okay. And then Ron, I was like, And then they got together. I was like, no. This feels wrong. And in the 7th one, Ron is such a jerk. He's such a baby. And I was like, oh gosh, no, why?
But here's the thing. Don't you ever see sometime like you see like these like, I don't know, like models and whatever. And like, you're like, they're drop dead gorgeous. And then you look at the guy they're like married to. And you're like, what the heck? Like one of these things is not like the other. Yeah. And so I always kind of looked at it like that. I was like, okay, she fell in love with Ron over time and grew to have feelings for him. And they were high school.
Sure.
High school. I'm putting this in air quotes. High school kind of sweethearts. And we see them. They're still together later. I just never really felt like there was maybe the strong kind of love triangle that you would traditionally see maybe in this movie. Like they could have leaned onto that harder and made that more of a thing, but it wasn't really there as hard, but kind of. I mean, definitely in the Deathly Hallows where like, Ron's having, temptations and seeing things and making things out that aren't really there. Right. So anyway, sidetrack. He says the tragic love triangle of Aragorn, Arwen, and Eowyn. Eowyn. Now sad. That is definitely a hard love triangle. Yeah. Because she's like totally into Aragorn.
Head over heels, man.
Yeah. But then again, like she does like flip her emotions pretty darn quick over to Faramir.
Yep.
Just saying. And then this is probably these next two answers. Peter, are probably the best two answers you have. All of your answers are good, but these are probably the best two answers, and then you've got your first choice. From Parks and Rec, Andy and April was a beautiful love story between two complete idiots that grow up.
Yep, it's great.
And I was also wearing a Mouse Rat t-shirt at FanX on Saturday around, and people were coming over, they're like, yeah, Mouse Rat, that's awesome. And I actually ran into a couple that was cosplaying as Burt Macklin and Janet Snakehole. Yep.
That's awesome.
I loved it. Okay, he says, also from Parks and Rec, Ben Wyatt and the accountant that keeps trying to hire him.
Oh my gosh. I'm back.
I love that. He's back.
I gotta quit. Sorry,
Ted,
guys.
Ted, he's back. He's back, Ted.
That's a good one.
He says, my original first choice was Buttercup and Wesley
Yep.
from The Princess Bride, but since you took it, I dug deeper to find the purest, most yearning, and hopeful love in all of movie history. Ken Watanabe and Godzilla from Godzilla and Godzilla King of Monsters.
Okay.
I think you should have ended on the Parks and Rec stuff.
Yeah.
I think that was where it is. But I always say that is because I haven't seen these last two Godzilla movies, so I don't know the love story there. I don't know if Peter's being funny or if he's actually being very serious here with the Ken Watanabe
facetious.
and Godzilla.
That's what maybe an obsession.
Maybe even, but I don't know the story, so like maybe he helped birth Godzilla in a lab somewhere, and it's his baby, and it's his creation. I don't know. Kaiju. I just don't know.
Nope.
So then he gives me a PS follow-up email. He says, 2 delicious smoked T-bone steaks later, and I've finally lost my Traeger virginity. My family thanks your persistence.
Oh, good.
And he sent me pictures. And then he follows up with another email and says, and some tri-tip and roast veggies on Sunday. My family is ready to throw the oven out.
All right.
And then he follows up with one other email, which is just a picture of the tri-tip and the veggies. And I got to say, Peter, welcome to the party, pal.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, I'm so happy to have another person belonging to the meat church that is Traeger Nation. So, jumping over to Twitter, where we're at Fort of Nerd, we've got some answers. Hollywood Bones, Patrick Novacell at Nova Beyond says, my all-time favorite has got to be the long-standing love between Tommy Oliver and Kimberly Hart, #GoGo, #Power Rangers.
Oh my gosh. I had a crush on Kimberly, dude. Oh, just saying. I did.
I think she actually was at FanX like back in the spring.
I'm pretty sure she was, because I sometimes look up to see who's going to be at those.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was the Pink Ranger, dude. Back in the days.
Never seen any of the Power Rangers, so I'm just going to take your word for
Mighty
it.
Morphin Power Rangers. Come on.
Tim Paulin at TPaulin20 says, who could forget this lovely couple? And it's a little gif from The Princess Bride. It says, get back, witch. I'm not a witch. I'm your wife.
Oh, that's a cute one, too.
So, that's
true love.
The true love of the old couple in Princess Bride. And, of course, that's Billy Crystal and, what's her name? Oh, I'm going to blank it. Carol Kane.
Nice.
Billiam at Billiam SWN says Jack and Sam from Stargate SG-1. So, a little love on Stargate SG-1. I remember seeing the Stargate movie. I don't know that I watched any of the TV shows, though.
I'd never have seen any of that, so...
I don't think at the time we had the Sci-Fi Channel where I was living at the time, so I didn't see any of that. I mean, I'm sure it's all like on Netflix or Hulu now, but...
Yeah.
Michael Hot Toast Bueller at Dirty and Poor Pod says Chuck and Sarah from Chuck.
Hey.
And there's a gif of my boy Chuck and Sarah.
Nice.
And I'm just watching that and I'm thinking, I need to rewatch Chuck again. That's such a fun show.
I got to start it.
Such a fun show. Super Friends, thank you so much for your answers this week. Once again, we're always on the email and the Twitter, like we said. You also can get us Facebook, which we're Facebook/Fort of Nerd. We're on Instagram, Fort of Nerd. Or you can leave us the old voicemail, 801-477-7687? 801-477-7687. Yeah, that's it. Okay, yep. I started rattling that off. I was like, did I just give out my cell number?
Oh, that.
Post.
Somebody
I
from
did not.
Post, help.
That's the Google number. If I would have given out my number, I would be like, well, I'm going to get some hate calls for sure from some people for things I say or don't say or forget about or say wrongly. Like apparently I didn't give enough background on She-Hulk last week.
You didn't.
And
got called
Caleb
out?
Albers called me out. If I'd accidentally given out my real phone number, Matt, I would have had to listen to that in person because he would have called me. And then if I would have tried to be funny or play it off, like he would then probably start over again and make sure that I understood how serious it was.
Hey, well, it is serious, all right?
I know, but I can wait for the Marvel show on, Disney Plus now because I now understand more thanks to Caleb some of that backstory.
I agree. Thank you, Caleb. Please call us back.
On the other line, not the other one that I did not just give out. I think we should move on, Matt.
Let's move on.
Super Friends are out there. They're doing stuff. They're helping us in ways that we don't always understand. They're mystical and mythical and magical. How can they help us out this week?
The classic line. Go to iTunes, leave us a review.
It's not you, it's me. That's the classic line.
Well, that's George Costanza's classic line. He invented it, apparently. Anyway, we just watched that episode like 2 nights ago. Again, going through it with Jesse. Anyway, okay, back to it. Super Friends, iTunes, all other places you listen to us. Subscribe and share it. Just share it with one friend this week. How about that? Just share us with one friend. Send them a link.
Then that one friend shares it with 2 friends, and that 2 friends shares it with 3 friends, and now we got a pyramid scheme going on.
Yes, you will get paid for the more people you have under you, because that's how pyramid schemes work, and that's how this podcast grows.
The Fortress of Nerditude downline that you create will pay off a whirlwind of nerd cred for you.
Yes, that is all true. So just try and share it with one friend this week. Share it with your mom. Share it with your wife or your husband or your kids.
Have you shared it with your mom, Matt?
I have. My mom knows about it. My dad does. They don't listen.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less. Jesse's like, should I listen to this? I'm like, I mean,
probably not.
If you want to.
You're like, do you want to hear us talking about you?
Yeah, I know, really. I was like,
and
I talked about you.
If the answer is yes, then
listen.
I've got some things to apologize for. But if the answer is no, then don't worry about it.
Good.
You're fine. Yeah.
So that's what you can do for us. And of course, I'm going to save that for next week. I got a challenge for y'all next week as what you can do for us. I got a challenge for them. All right. Anyway.
Challenge for next week. I like it.
Next week.
So Matt, you obviously are a big college football fan, and you know that I'm not, but I am a professional football fan. And so we kind of knocked around the idea, since football season is back in the full swing now and has begun again, that we should talk about football, but the way that we would talk about it here in the Fortress of Nerditude, which would be our favorite football movies.
Yes.
Because this is not a sports podcast.
No, it is not. Far from it, you know? Go talk about sports somewhere else.
Yeah, get out of here, sports
get the
ball.
Heck out of here, you crazies. If you want to talk sports, send me a text. I'm always good for it.
If you want to talk Cubs baseball, send me a voicemail to that Google number.
Anyway, yes. So we thought this would be a good idea, and I'm interested to hear kind of what your thoughts are. There's a lot of ways that I wanted to take this, and a lot of ground I wanted to cover, because I was like, we don't want to just do like media, because as all y'all know, probably should know by now, Friday Night Lights is the greatest TV show ever made. I just want to throw that out there before we talk about movies, because I focused on movies. Yep. There will be nothing that I talk about on this podcast tonight that is better than Friday Night Lights.
I probably would agree with that.
Even the Friday Night Lights movie. It's fine.
Yeah, the TV show is much better.
The TV show, you're like, oh, this
except for some weirdness in season 2, it's way much better.
Yeah.
It's way much better. I don't even think that's good English.
It don't matter.
So here's the thing. I guess the real question is, like, why do we love football movies so much? Because obviously, like, there's not just like 2 or 3 football movies. There's a lot of football movies out there.
Yeah.
Going back, quite a long way. And there's going to be more football movies that are going to be made. Why do you think football movies are like so popular and so beloved?
Well, I was thinking about that because I knew we were going to talk about this. One is particularly football movies, because you can kind of lump all sports movies together, because I think the reason in the end we all like sports movies is the same. However, football, I think, is made more prominent because in the United States of America, this is our sport. People will say baseball is America's pastime.
It's the national pastime.
The pastime. The current time, it's football.
That's weak.
So that's number one reason is football is the most popular sport in America. Without a doubt. Second one, most of the movies we're going to talk about probably involves an individual overcoming obstacles or a team overcoming what seems insurmountable. It's the underdog overcoming, unifying, kind of feel good. Most of the sports movies that we enjoy or that are talked about, they're feel good stories. Yeah. And everybody wants to have that. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you're onto something there, but I think just the whole idea of like the underdog narrative in movies and television is such a predominant theme that like we know what to expect and we enjoy that. I mean, think about Lord of the Rings for just a second. It really is the story of an underdog, a hobbit that is small in stature that has to overcome these great obstacles in order to defeat the most vile evil that's in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's an underdog story. And of course, like, we root for Frodo. We want Frodo to toss the ring into Mount Doom, and we want him to succeed. And we want to see him overcome all the adversity that he's going to face. And that's a fantasy movie. We see the same thing with, like, Star Wars. You know, we want to see the rebels, you know, take down the Empire and destroy the Death Star in A New Hope. That's a sci-fi movie. So here we are in a sports movie. It's not crazy to see that pattern and say, yeah, we enjoy seeing an underdog story, you know, some ragtag, you know, team or individual rise up and, you know, live their best life, you know, accomplish things that they normally wouldn't have accomplished, and find some magic, find some, you know, some thing that just pushes them to the next level.
Yep.
So I do think there is a lot of that. I also do think that, especially with like football movies, because I mean, we're talking about it now because football season started. But I definitely think that football movies also appeal to a lot of people because they've found ways to tie in other things into football movies. So like in some of these movies we may talk about, like they may have like love stories that are interwoven into it. So they don't appeal just to football fans only.
Right.
Or they may have like, you know, comedy woven into them. So they appeal, you know, to people who, you know, like comedies and like to laugh, and, you know, or if they want to know like kind of like the background of like the football business, people that are into like the kind of the insider information things. And so they find different ways to like tie in other kind of subplots. They're going to hit a much wider variety than just the, hey, I'm a sports fan, so I want to watch sports movies.
Be a very boring movie to watch if it was just about football. You're like, I just want to watch football if I'm going to watch a movie about football. There has to be something that pulls you in. I think you're right. There is something more, and I hope people who don't like sports, I'm sure they know that, right? That there's more to all of these stories. Like Friday Night Lights, I'm sure some people are turned off just the fact that, like my wife initially, right? It's about football. Matt, I don't care that much. It was about basketball maybe, but I'm like, no, this is about football. But trust me when I say that it is not about football. It is about the community and the individuals. And that's what pulls us all in. That's what makes it so relatable, is because, and the underdog especially, because we are all there. We've all been there. We have friends who've been there. We feel some type of kinship with these individuals and these teams overcoming things. But I agree. There's an emotional pull on most all sports movies.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got to have some compelling story. Otherwise, it's just a movie about a game. Why not just show you the game, right?
Yep.
All right. So what do you have in like some of your favorites?
All right.
And there's like no particular order. I mean, maybe save the best for last. I don't know. Whatever. But
I some of these are going to be super obvious, and I'm sure that we'll talk about ones that are on this list together. But one of my favorites that I almost guarantee that you don't have on this list, that I had forgotten about until I saw it as a free movie for me to watch on Vudu the other day, and my mind was blown because I can't believe I forgot about this movie, and it is Little Giants.
Never seen it.
Rick Moranis at his second best, only to Ghostbusters. I mean, it is comedy at its peak. It is silliness at its peak. And I don't know the name of the actor. It's got the guy from Married with Children and Modern
Ed O'Neill.
Family. Thank you. Ed O'Neill. He's also in it. He's like the jerk coach. So it's about Rick Moranis and this older brother who's played by Ed O'Neill, who does this. He's basically this jerk jock, and then Rick Moranis is Rick Moranis. So
would you say like Little Giants is kind of like a retelling of like the Bad News Bears? I mean, is it like, you know, kind of a jerky coach and like a whole bunch of like kind of like ragtag kids playing football?
Kind of. No, actually not at all. This is just a bunch of nerds. This is a nerd movie. A bunch of nerds who are unathletic want to play on the good team, coached by Rick Moranis' brother, but they all get cut. Like, you can't play football because you suck. And they've got the nice jerseys. They look like the Dallas Cowboys. And then Rick Moranis is like, okay, let's start a team. And then it's just this comedy of how they learn to do teamwork and
Gotcha.
some really funny stuff. And none of those kids went on to do anything that I can think of, like the kid actors in the movie. But that's a really, really funny movie. It's good with the family too. Your kids would think it was funny. I promise you that. There's lots of like booger jokes and dumb stuff like that. It's a really fun movie and underrated again. So
Okay.
I love it.
So one of the movies I really liked, and I actually watched this maybe like a month ago, is the 2006 movie by Disney, Invincible.
Yeah.
It's the story of Vince Papale. So like this takes place in like the early 70s, and which definitely like the movie has that 70s like nostalgia feel with, you know, the clothes and kind of like the sepia tone. It was kind of shot in a lot, and then, you know, the hairstyles. But basically, like the Philadelphia, and it's based on a true story, which I also find to be very compelling in football movies. But it's based on a true story about the Philadelphia Eagles when they were just sucking really, really, really hard. And they decided to hold open tryouts, and like all these Eagle fans came. But Vince Papale is this bartender, and he comes down and he tries out, and he makes it cut after cut after cut, and he's just giving it his all, and he ends up making the team, and he gets on special teams, and he's on, you know, like kickoff return and punt return, that sort of stuff. And it's Mark Wahlberg, and Mark Wahlberg can pretty much play any sports themed type of movie because he's a pretty athletic guy.
Yeah.
But he played the role really well. You root for the guy. You root for him to get with the girl that's like the Giants fan. And if you know football, you know, Eagles and Giants, that's a big rivalry. But like, it wasn't just you wanted him to do it, but like him making it like was a big deal to like his father, who was struggling and, you know, was kind of like laid off and on strike or whatever. And it was a big deal to the city, and it was a big deal to his neighborhood and to like his friends and family who like didn't have a lot to be happy and excited about because of kind of the recession that was going on and all the strikes, and people were out of work, and it gave them some sort of hope and something to look forward to. And it was the story of a local boy, you know, making it good in the world. And I mean, it's a nostalgia movie. It's trying to tug at your heartstrings, but it does it. It gets me every time. Like I do enjoy that movie.
Successful. No, that is a very good movie. I've only seen it once, I think. But I really liked it. And I like Mark Wahlberg though. I mean, it doesn't take much. I mean, I like him. And it's and that story is a legend now, right? And the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken, will still hold tryouts as kind of a tradition. At least every once in a while, they'll still hold open tryouts. Anyway, it's really cool. I think it's obviously a really great story. I like that pick. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and save my best for last, and I'm sure that you are also going to mention this movie. One of my favorite movies is, of course, Rudy.
Oh gosh, Rudy's so good.
Probably the most famous football movie of all time. Really high up there. Sean Astin does a great job. It's like, it's so funny to me. It's been a meme recently, and that's because I don't know if you've seen the new commercial for Kentucky Fried Chicken where Sean Astin is in the commercial and he plays Rudy, but also that Rudy, he like puts on the Colonel outfit because he actually wants to be the Kentucky Fried Chicken Colonel. Anyway, and he comes out and it's a play off of Rudy. To me, Sean Astin doesn't age. I mean, I look at that man and the dude looks the same. I mean, obviously you age from the Goonies to Rudy, but from Rudy to like Lord of the Rings to Stranger Things, it doesn't really change all that much other than he's a little bit thicker. Rudy is one of the all-time underdog stories, right? I mean, the guy wants to play for Notre Dame, and obviously he's got no real chance, and I don't want to spoil anything for you if you haven't seen it, but watch it. It is one of the more inspiring movies that you can watch, and this is certainly not just for football fans at all. I mean, this is an all-time classic movie, just generally. Underdog, don't give up on your dreams kind of a situation, and it's true. That's always some of the best parts about these movies is it's based on a true story, a real life Rudy, who's still alive, kicking, hanging out today, doing his thing. It's pretty cool. So
nice. Yeah,
go check it out.
I love Rudy. You can't go wrong.
No.
Rudy. Rudy.
Gives you the chills.
Rudy. Okay, so this one, I don't know if you've seen this one.
Okay.
This is an older one.
Probably
it originally was a movie of the week on ABC and then went into the theaters. It's from 1971. It's Brian's Song. Now, the reason I know this is because I'm from Chicago and the Chicago Bears are, gods in Chicago, obviously. Monsters of the Midway and all that, right? Like, Chicago Bears are the Chicago Bears. One of the original teams, storied franchise history. But this movie, it's got James Caan in it. It's got Gale Sayers. James Caan plays Brian Piccolo, and Billy D. Williams plays Gale Sayers. And basically, it recounts the friendship that developed between Brian Piccolo, a white football player, and Gale Sayers, a black football player, that were put together as roommates at the first ever interracial roommates in NFL league history. But it chronicles their friendship, but it also chronicles Brian Piccolo's death in 1970. Somewhere kind of along the way, they figure out that Brian is sick and that he has terminal cancer. And so there are two very opposing personalities. Like, they would never have been friends together, but they were kind of forced to be roommates. And it's emotional, it's raw, it finds a way to show these two men that just really wouldn't ever get along otherwise, like forge a friendship. And then so much that, when Brian Piccolo gets really sick, like Gale Sayers, plays, plays for him and does things, to try to help lift Brian Piccolo's spirit and, plays in memory of him and does things. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful film. It's a tearjerker. Just letting you know, fellas of the Fortress of Nerditude.
Yeah.
If you consider yourself to be one of those tough guys that never cries anything, Brian's Song will get you. It will hook you hard, and you're going to be looking for the Kleenex saying, what the heck just happened? Like, this is supposed to be a football movie. But it's more than that. It's realistically, it's a character piece. It's a story about, friendship and the human spirit and like trying to be there for someone when they're going through something that's really hard. It is full on drama. It is hard to watch. It's beautiful though, and it's a story that I think needs to be seen by anyone who's a football fan and by anyone who's just a fan of movies in general.
Yep, heard a lot about this movie. Haven't gotten around to see it, but I know all the plot lines and plot points, and it certainly sounds really emotional.
They kind of redid it, like someone redid it in like 2001, and I remember seeing that, and it's okay, but definitely go watch the 1971 film with James Caan and Billy D. Williams. That's the better version.
So I've got this one and then one more.
Okay.
This one is kind of a different movie because it's kind of like Moneyball for football, if you remember.
Oh gosh, I know what you're saying.
Kevin Costner.
Draft Day.
Day.
That's such a good cool
movie. It like lost money at the box office, which is a shame because it's a cool movie. If you're at all interested in kind of the behind the scenes of the NFL draft and what kind of goes into it, it's really, really cool with Kevin Costner. It's fictional, but it's really, really cool based on kind of what really happens and the phone calls that take place on draft day. And Kevin Costner plays, I think he plays the GM. No. Yeah. I think he does.
Yeah, he plays the GM.
He plays the GM of the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
Fictional, obviously, but kind of they have the 7th pick, and then they have the opportunity to have the 1st pick in the draft, and the clock is on him, and he's like, I don't want to pick the obvious first. I want to pick this other guy. And anyway, it's this mental gymnastics that goes into being a general manager on draft day and deciding who to pick, who the fans want versus who you know is going to help the team versus who you think you can get. And it's a really, really cool movie for anybody interested in kind of what goes on.
Yep.
And I've only seen the movie once. I really liked it. From what I recall, though, this really is about football for the most part, and about the general managing side of football. So if you're not interested or you have absolutely no desire to care about that, then probably don't see it.
I think Moneyball on the baseball side is definitely the better film.
Yes.
To kind of like show like the inner workings of like a professional sports team and league. But on the football side, Draft Day is a really close second.
Yeah.
Kind of in that genre of a sports film. I like it also because it really gives you a realistic expectation of like how cutthroat that business is. Like,
yeah,
if you're not, if you're not doing well, you have people to answer to, and if you don't do your job well enough, it's easy to get a replacement.
Yep.
Like, you will be replaced very, very fast.
Yep.
So I do love that movie. I watch that movie maybe once a year, just when I'm in the mood. I'm like, ooh, I should watch Draft Day again. That's a good one. Yep. I'm actually, for one of my next ones, I'm going to pick a movie also that's kind of like fictionalized, kind of behind the scenes in the football industry.
Okay.
But this one has definitely a bromance element to it and a romance element. And I'm going to go with 1996 Jerry Maguire, a.k.a. Show Me the Money. Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Cruise like have this kind of weird budding romance between an agent and his star player. And the star player becomes the meal ticket for the agent because the agent leaves his agency after he has some sort of crisis of conscience and writes this big kind of like memo that he sends out, this mission statement, and he basically gets ostracized. And he ends up spending his entire time with Rod Tidwell, his 1-star wideout for the Cardinals, and just like what he goes through. And then, there's this love story, which I know played really, really well with the ladies that enjoy that sort of thing, or people just kind of, enjoy the love story. And, Renee Zellweger and the little boy, I'm trying to think of what his name is. Jonathan Lipnicki. That was what it is. I remember that name because that name is definitely a little different.
Yeah.
The human head weighs 8 pounds. It's a good movie. It's a lot of fun. It definitely was a different take. And Cuba Gooding Jr., won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar award for his performance in the film. Like, he was tour de force in that film. So good.
Agreed. It's just a classic, right?
Yeah.
It's just a classic.
Yep. A lot of quotable lines.
Very quotable, very memorable. Yeah. Absolutely. So for my last one, I'm going to end it with a bang. One of my favorite movies ever, Remember the Titans.
Oh, yeah, just so good.
Absolutely. I'm sure everybody in the world has seen Remember the Titans. We watched it probably once a year in school as like the movie when you were done with your test, or when anything that was happening, it was, we don't know what to show, so let's just watch Remember the Titans. Mm-hmm. And I was happy every single time. And this movie is special because obviously the story is fantastic, right? The integration of T.C. Williams, I think that's what it was called, T.C. Williams High School in Virginia, and Herman Boone, played by Denzel Washington, and Coach Yost, played by Will Patton, and how this all happens. These are all real people with real, this is all based on true stories. The athletes, Gary Bertier and, what was the other guy's name? Julius Campbell. Those were real athletes on that team. And so it's really cool to to know that obviously it's based on a real, a true to life story, and the story is fantastic. But aside from that, I mean, the acting is great. But what kind of sets it for me, in addition to all those things, this is kind of the trifecta, and the last part of it has to be the music. And for me, the music on Remember the Titans is almost iconic, with that old school Cat Stevens kind of feel, and Creedence Clearwater Revival, and the way that it makes you feel, and that era of American history, and you're kind of seeing it unfold, because obviously we didn't live through that. We didn't see that just before us. And so it's
kind of the civil rights movement, and
it's so cool to watch that movie. And obviously what plays on the football field is fantastic, but what plays out in all their personal lives, and how a community changes, and how the football team can change the world and change the hearts of these racists. It's really, really great.
Yeah, I love that movie. If you hadn't picked that, I probably would have picked that. So I had a couple others that I could pick from. So
Smart.
I'm gonna go a different route, because I figured you and I are probably gonna have somewhat like overlap on a few things. So for my last one, and I'm gonna say probably I probably would have said Rudy. I mean, I really probably would have said Rudy, but you already said that. And then I probably would have said Remember the Titans, but you said that. So I'm going to go with The Blind Side, 2009. So what I love about this film is that it's a biopic film about a real life and a kid that became an NFL player, Michael Orr. And basically he was homeless. His mom had issues with drugs and whatnot, and he kind of lived on the street. And this family, the Tuohys, take him in, and they give him a place to live, and they're foster parents. And then they realize with his size, he can play football. And so they get him playing high school football. And then, they help him get prepared so that he can go and play college football. And he goes obviously on to play college football, and then he makes it to the NFL. What I love about this is, once again, it is an underdog story. It's a kid who came up really, really rough circumstances, and through football is able to find self-confidence, able to figure out how he can apply some of the very few limited skills, because academically, he is very behind at the start of it. And they said when they did all the testing, he only tested positively in 2 categories, and one was spatial reasoning, and the other was protectiveness or whatever. And so they teach him to be a lineman and to protect a quarterback's blind side. And they, it's just great to see the narrative of someone taking what very few little strengths they have and magnifying those strengths to the point where he's able to go from basically living on the street in his high school years to a number of years later, he's playing professional football in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And it's a true story, again, based on a true story. It's obviously got some great acting performances. Sandra Bullock is in it, and Tim McGraw's in it. And I love kind of their relationship between the husband and wife there. It reminds me kind of the Taylors from Friday Night Lights a little bit. Friday Night Lights is still better, but I do love The Blind Side. It, once again, is one of those football movies that I can pop it in and I can enjoy it for the humor of the interaction between Michael Orr and the little boy Sean or SJ, Sean Jr., or I can appreciate it for the protectiveness of Sandra Bullock wanting to give this kid a better life. I can also appreciate it for the emotional, a young man overcoming his upbringing and rising to become more than he would have been if he didn't have that opportunity. There's just a lot of different things about it, but I love The Blind Side.
That is a great, great movie. And Sandra Bullock did a great job. And she plays, the hair color's different. It's funny.
And she plays Southern.
Yeah, totally plays. And she plays it pretty well, I think.
It's convincing enough.
They're Mississippi, aren't they? Doesn't he end up going to Ole Miss in real life?
He goes to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Mississippi. The South.
Yep.
Yep, she did a great job. Those are some great movies. Now, again, every time we get on the podcast, I get new ideas on what I want to watch. And I'm like, gosh, I don't have time.
Yeah, you start writing a list. You're like, dang it, I need to go back and
God,
rewatch
I gotta
this.
Rewatch. It's been forever since I've seen The Blind Side and Draft Day and Rudy. I mean, goodness, I got to go back.
Jon Favreau's in Rudy. Happy Hogan.
What? Is he really?
He's Rudy's friend that goes to the Catholic junior college. Yep. The one that has the problem with the ladies, and he's like, "You talk to the girls, you can help me out. I'll help you with the grades if you help introduce me to women."
Yeah,
Jon Favreau.
Oh my gosh, Jon Favreau, what a guy.
Yep.
What a guy.
So Super Friends, football season's here, full swing of things. We want to hear from you. The question of the week: what is your favorite football movie? Let us know at all the usual places: email, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, voicemail, smoke signals, carrier pigeon, whatever. And we will talk about those next week. And then, Matt, you have a special question you wanted, or is this the challenge for next week?
This is the challenge for next week, but also
challenge for next week.
You can also send your favorite Sega Dreamcast game if you want, just as a side thing.
Sega. All right. Well, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you always. Hud, hud, hike!